YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. After Thursday Night Football between the Dolphins and the Jags, a very impressive win for the Miami Dolphins. They're a big win, getting their first win of the year. And I'm here to recap it, mainly give you my takeaways. And last night, watching the game, wasn't the most enjoyable game, most entertaining game. Wasn't really looking forward to this recap, honestly, but waking up this morning and realizing what went down and what to expect for the future, it kind of shows that we learned quite a bit in this game. So I'm actually excited to give you my takeaways and what to expect from these teams going forward. We're here every Friday doing this video for Thursday games. Every Monday, we recap all the Sunday games, and we recap Monday games in the Wednesday night podcast. We also have predictions, score predictions, power rankings, plenty more updated every single week. Got a lot of football season left, and we have a Twitter live tweeted during that Thursday night game. We'll do the same for the Sunday games, do the same for Monday games. You're going to want to follow that Twitter, constant updates, Instagram, podcast, Patreon. Please subscribe. Trying to reach 60K would be much appreciated if you could subscribe, turn notifications on, smash that like button if you enjoyed. Got some interesting points to go over. Before we get started, patreon.com/thegoathouse. Link in the description, comments. Junior score predictions, my locks / bets of the week. A lot of these things already up on, they go up Monday night, so a lot already up there. Discord access, bonus content, much more. Playoff predictions will be updated every single week. We haven't started those yet. It's a little early, but once we get to those every single week. 31-13, impressive win from the Miami. I want to go right off the bat. I want to start right off the bat. I am mad at myself for picking the Jacksonville Jaguars. Everyone picks games wrong. I don't get on myself too much. This one got to me a little bit. Why? Because I should have saw it coming. I definitely should have saw it. I should have saw it coming because the Jacksonville Jaguars. I knew they weren't. Some people were getting pretty high on them after the first 2 weeks. And what do I always say before the season, in season, during the first 2 weeks? You cannot predict the future off those things, off those weeks. You can't, have any major takeaways from that. And the Jaguars, we don't know for sure yet, but it could be a great example of that. And I kind of was getting ready to start to predict them to start losing games because teams were going to figure them out. I just didn't think in week 3 is where it would start. I didn't think, in Jacksonville prime time against a struggling Dolphins team is where it would start. But bottom line in this game, the Dolphins played like the much better team, and simply they are the much better team. I think it's kind of plain and simple there. Things can go different if they got DJ Chark and they just get a reset there for the Jaguars, but I believe the Dolphins are the better team. And why do I say all this? Why did the Jaguars look good in the first 2 weeks, even though they were 1-1? I do think people overreacted from just one win in week 1 and then overreacted from scoring 30 points on the Titans. And I shame on myself for kind of letting that 30 points on the Titans get to me. You kind of go back and look at what happened. Titans were up big right away. They allowed the Jaguars to come back. Good offense for the Jaguars. Why were they having success on offense? And why do teams have success in weeks 1 and 2 when they're really not that good? It's because it's very tough. There's really no game plan for those teams, and that's exactly what happened with the Jaguars. Fast offense, quick offense, a lot of small ball, and that was tough to game plan for teams. How do you beat that? Pretty simple. You run a lot of man coverage. Tight zone as well could work. Press zone. But a lot of man coverage is how you beat that. Make Minshew beat you downfield. Credit to the Dolphins. Excellent game plan. This is exactly what they did. Going back to the Titans game, Titans ran a ton of cover 4. They were up early. They ran a lot of cover 4, which is exactly what you do not want to run against this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. A reason could be the Titans were a little beat up. Here we are recapping Titans games, but the Titans were a little beat up at corners, so I guess understandable, but they still should have went with a lot of man coverage. So this is very understandable. Teams couldn't game plan the first 2 weeks for the Jaguars. Now teams know we're going to run man coverage. We're going to run some press zone, some tight zone, and that's how teams are going to be able to. The tape is out. They're going to be able to game plan for the Jaguars. They're still going to have games here and there where they're big on offense, but this is why we saw Minshew play this way this week. Man coverage, it's going to force him to make tight throws. He's going to have to hit those downfield throws, and he'll still hit some here and there, even though he did not in this game against the Dolphins. But it's going to make it a lot tougher on him. So this is the Jaguars team that we all expected, and this made sense actually. Not getting beat by this much, but this made a lot of sense. Excellent game plan from the Dolphins. I don't want to say expose. I think teams didn't really need the Dolphins to figure out the Jaguars' offense. teams were going to start running more man. And that's what the Dolphins came out doing, but we've seen them switch to zone, back and forth, a lot of tight, a lot of tight zone, but back and forth, and that really got to Minshew's head. Like, what are they in? The pressure helped as well. The pass protection of the Jaguars sure didn't help, but this is a very poor game from Minshew, and I don't expect every game to be like this, even though I think this is more what we're going to see most of the time compared to what we saw the first 2 weeks, and it's not like the first 2 weeks were anything spectacular. I think people were a little having some overreactions from that. It's going to be a tougher task here on out, and the Dolphins did a great job game planning and running the right coverages and and getting that pressure, but it felt like other things on top of that. It felt like, and I'm pretty off center here, I'm just realizing wrong way. It felt like, Minshew was kind of backwards on everything that he was doing. I felt like he could have rolled out on these plays here and there. There's pressure up the middle, roll out. Well, I know he can roll out. What is he doing? I think the Dolphins defense was really in their head. He was trying to figure out, where to throw the ball, what type of coverage they're in, and he was kind of backwards on times he should have rolled out. He didn't, and stepping into pressure, stepping into sacks, backing into sacks, pressure. That was a big reason. A lot of these, offensive line deserves some blame, but a lot of those sacks and pressures were on Minshew as well. Like I said, kind of doing the wrong thing there and just really panicking early, hesitating when he throw. It was a bad game. It was very tough to watch. I've seen games where guys are throwing interceptions here, here and there, quite a few interceptions, but they have the ability to, make that big play. And those are easier to watch than what I saw in this game. It was pretty rough. So teams are going to be game planning like this for them. I think tough to game plan the first 2 weeks for. Maybe not the right coverages out there. Dolphins did the right job. Fitzpatrick looked great in this game. Maybe we see why Fitzpatrick's starting right away, even though Tua is such a good talent. It's still tough to see him on the sideline there. But yeah, he looked great. It's nothing new, but you're always impressed with the Fitzpatrick toughness, his ability to run. He wants to run somebody over and see how excited and happy he is, how much fun he's having playing. You just love to see that. And those are things that we already know, but it's impressive, and you love seeing it when it happens again, at this stage, prime time. I thought this team looked really fast. Offensively, defensively, they were just way faster than the Jaguars, who have been a fast offense, but mainly the Dolphins offense versus the Jaguars defense. There was a giant difference in the speed of play, and maybe not like running speed. Well, that's a big factor, but just speed of the game, for the Dolphins. I thought that really stood out there. I like kind of going back to the game plan and kind of goes in the quickness of the offense, just speed of the game. Was the first drive. They came out high tempo, throwing the ball quick. I think that's exactly what we have to do against any team every week, because that is so hard for a defense to stop that. And so credit to them doing that. Pass rush was great. Very early, it was a little quiet, but it got hot at the right times. Van Noy getting interior pressure and on the outside, getting just pressure and getting to the quarterback, getting to Minshew in general. I thought he made some crucial plays, big time stops, got pressure for his teammates. Grugier Hill had that big time blitz in the inside. That was a great blitz call by Flores early, and he had pressure in multiple times, in big plays in multiple times. But I thought it was a fourth down kind of earlier in the game. I thought that was huge because the Jaguars could have made that, I believe, 21-14 if they would have drove down and scored. They were at midfield if they would have converted that fourth down. So that was a huge blitz call, and execution was there. Fourth down, you kind of want quarterbacks just to throw it up. You can't really take that sack, but Grugier Hill got in there instantly. So that was big time. And then this reason why there's a question mark, this is in yellow on the graphic, is did they get too conservative? In general, I don't like when teams really ever get conservative. And then you kind of look at this game and, was it a problem? I'm going to say no. I actually liked what they did here. And they didn't just strictly stick to running the ball. They would have some, when they're up big, and they would have some, they would throw the ball here and there. So I love that. They didn't get too conservative, but they did get conservative in a way, and I'm giving them a pass here. 99% of the time, I do not like when teams do this, but I liked it here. Why? Because I like the play choices. They were successful running the clock. They were still moving the ball, getting points on the board, but mainly Run the clock against the Jags because this is not a team that's going to come from behind. The way you were playing defense, the way you were tight in coverage, this team was going to have to go inch by inch with their small ball. They couldn't do anything downfield. Inch by inch with really the only player playing good, James Robinson. I did like Chenault as well. And run clock themselves to come back. There just wasn't enough time for them to do that. So I definitely liked everything about the Dolphins. There really wasn't. There's really nothing negative I can say about the Dolphins in this game. It was a great game. I don't think they are, but I just want to say, don't get maybe Dolphins fans or just fans in general out there. You can't really get too excited going forward off this. It's a team that you're better than, but it is a big win. Definitely excited to get. You got to be excited about getting this win in dominating fashion. But this is really not something that should predict the future. But it also shows us that the Dolphins aren't a team you should take lightly at the same time. So it's a big time win for them. Other the receivers played well, especially down the sideline. Looking at Devontae Parker, who was questionable going in this game. I thought dominated, just a lot of back shoulder throws. Fitzpatrick putting the ball in the right spot. Same thing with Preston Williams. The receivers didn't do anything great. They played solid down there. I thought Fitzpatrick just played a heck of a game. He had it took a while for him to get his first incompleted pass too. So that looked good. Everything looked good about the Dolphins. I like that they got some pressure going. The game plan on defense was great. Byron Jones, him being out, played a part of that, picking the Jaguars in this game, I think, for a lot of us too. Noah Igbenogene, who played outside corner for Auburn, and the Dolphins drafted to play inside, played extremely well on the outside there. Really, it wasn't too hard of a job, but it was because the ball placement wasn't really there really at all. The pressure definitely helped, but he played impressive. It was an impressive game for the young corner there. So they did a heck of a job there. Yeah, Van Noy I thought was the standout guy. Grugier Hill I thought played a pretty good game. Impressive game from the Dolphins, and that's big time. Kind of going back to the Jaguars, I touched on James Robinson looked good. I talked about it on Twitter. It's pretty easy to see if a running back can play or not. I think James Robinson can play. And that doesn't mean I think he's like a top 10 running back or, anything even close to that really. But he can see he can hit the hole hard. He's a hard runner. He can make people miss after the fact too. He can play. Guy can play. So he was impressive. Again, I thought Chenault was good when they got him the ball. I wish they would have got him the ball more. I was really hoping and predicting to see a lot of end arounds. Didn't see that. But mainly negatives here, and that kind of goes into play calling though. I wish I would have saw a little more, and there was things I question. We'll kind of come back to that. But I talked about Minshew. Did not play a good game. He saw really good. It's really more credit to the Dolphins defense. They gave him some man coverage early, then they were switching up man zone. They were getting in his head. They were bringing pressure. He couldn't handle pressure. He couldn't handle the man coverage. That means he has to fit. He's not going to have those simple layup throws anymore. He's going to have to force it in there. He's going to have to make the shots downfield. He's going to have to hit those throws, which he was way off target on, and he did not do that in this game. What to expect going forward? Teams are going to game plan similar. Will Gardner Minshew play like this every single week? No. He will have his good moments, but I think people will look or maybe say he was just off tonight. He'll go back to the first 2 weeks, and that is. And again, he'll play okay at times, but that is actually less likely to think like that because I kind of talked about it. Teams didn't know what to expect. The Titans were over there running the worst possible coverage you can run against this offense in cover 4. I'm confident the Titans won't do that again next time, and they still won the game. I'm confident the Titans won't do that again next time. This is where teams will start to figure it out. So the task will be much, much tougher for Minshew and with the Jaguars offense and the Jaguars offense going forward. They do play the Bengals going, next, which is a pretty good matchup for them in terms of their offense versus defense. We'll see if the Bengals try to game plan like the Dolphins did, but a very poor outing for Minshew. It was tough to watch just because nothing can get going over 5 yards. The way he was handling pressure, I felt like a lot of things were backwards. He's still young, still growing, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one, and a lot of these mistakes, will they be fully fixed? Going forward, their pass protection didn't help them. They weren't too good early. They weren't bad. There was times, again, I put the blame more on Minshew stepping into things or not getting outside the pocket, which that's the thing where I thought was much different. People will say, look at the stats and say completion percentage and things were different, but play wasn't really different. the defense was just different. It just switched up the coverages. So I don't think that people were trying to say Minshew was just off, his game was different. I think it's more the defense was different, made it harder on him, and we actually might have saw something similar to what we saw last week or the week before if the defense ran the same thing. But something that I did think that was actually different was him just not getting outside the pocket. Against the Titans, sometimes there was pressure, and he was getting outside the pocket, and he just wasn't doing that in this game. So that was the thing that I thought was off. But everything else, nothing was really different. It was the defense that was different, and that made him play worse and have a tougher task there. But protection's definitely got to play better. The run blocking was pretty solid, though, for James Robinson. Defense looked extremely slow. Oh, I was disappointed with this. And that kind of went in the Dolphins looking extra fast. They look speedy. But Joe Schobert played a very poor game. I kind of like that signing, based on what he played with the Browns. But that was and he's played solid before that, but that was kind of a one-year thing. And so maybe a lot of football left, and he's kind of new to the Jaguars. But, man, he looks, and people, you see how linebackers are changing, and maybe that's why the Browns let him go for that price. They want more, the faster guys. You have to be able to run this. You have to be able to be this speed to play linebacker. In today's NFL, it's way different. And, he looks slow, getting juked out by Fitzpatrick, not being able to get the right angles just because of the lack of speed. It almost like he was playing hurt out there. I don't know. But there was a lot of guys like that. They just could not get the right angles. Even when they had the right angles, they didn't have the speed. It just didn't look fast enough there. So they're going to have to work on building that. Getting faster, because that is the name of the game in today's NFL. Bottom line is you have to be able to play, first off. But, they need to get faster. Other guys struggled. Early the Dolphins were going quick offense, kind of taking what I think the Jaguars' best part of their defense should be, which is their pass rush, which is with Josh Allen and Clavon Chason. And they kind of took that. The Dolphins kind of took that away with their quick play, and that's great. But then there was some other plays, that the rest of the game I thought. The pass rush a little underwhelming, especially going. And I got to credit the Dolphins' young offensive line too. Forgot to do that. I think the offensive line did a pretty darn good job there. Not the toughest task, but they did a very good job, especially keeping those pass rushers in check. So, wish they could have played a little better. C.J. Henderson was really off his game, and it's just because I'm not concerned about this. I don't really have any takeaways from C.J. Henderson being off his game a little bit, because I've talked about it in the past. I've talked about it again here. Corners don't really make that, rookie corners, second-year corners, even third-year corners, even maybe even fourth-year corners, the young guys, they don't make that big of an impact right away. It takes some time for them to become, real good corners. I think it's rare to become a star corner in today's NFL. So I'm not really concerned. And going back to my pre-draft, evaluation, C.J. Henderson had the traits. He was really not pro-ready. He's kind of raw, but he has a lot of upside. He has the physical ability combined with the athletic ability and things that you really can't coach that into a player. Other things that will be coached. He's got a lot of upside. It's almost expected to have him have these struggle games, and it's okay. It's almost expected at this point. He's got a lot of upside. I think he has a bright future. But it was a tough game. I think that, kind of the takeaway is I think people overreacted from the first 2 weeks. Really, it kind of goes into everything. Teams don't know what to expect. You don't know how to game plan. He played very well in the first 2 weeks. You can't take that away from him. He's had a lot of upside, but I thought people looked at the first week or two and like, okay, this guy's a great corner. He's going to be great right off the bat. There's going to be games like this, and it shouldn't be a surprise. I think people just overreacted a little bit. This is kind of how it should be, how it's going to be. He'll have his good games. He'll have his struggling games. It's just a life of a young good corner there. Just how it is. There's nothing really, and there's really no bright spot of the defense. I thought there really wasn't too many bright spots in this game in general. Then we go into play calling, and the play calling I question. Early, I talked about it on the Dolphins side. It was 21-7. It was a third down. Will start. They pitched it to Chris Thompson. He might have got negative, maybe nothing. I don't really agree with that play call. Obviously, they were going to go for it on fourth. I don't really like getting outside. Outside has a chance for a negative play, obviously. We all know that. A pitch outside it has a chance to get a gain, but has a chance for a big negative gain. Rather than running up the middle, there's a low chance you're going to get a negative gain on that. It's possible. So I think they knew they were going – well, obviously, they knew they were going on fourth. So I disagree with that play call. Strongly, disagree with that. I don't really like going for it on fourth either. because if you get stopped, it kind of felt like the game could have been over because look where they're at midfield. They did get stopped. That's a spot where you can credit the defense of the Jags. At one time, they're actually stopping them, and it could have because it could have been a disaster. Game could have been over there, pretty much. With that blitz getting after Minshew was the fourth down play. They basically got the sack, they got the stop, but I didn't agree with the third down call. Other than that, yeah, I wish they would have got Shenault going a little more because they were forced to play small ball, because that's their offense, that's their quarterback, and that's a guy that you kind of get the ball to in that scenario, in the backfield, end arounds, more of that because he's that big play waiting to happen. So I wish you would have got Shenault going a little more. But other than that, that's only a couple things there. Other than that, I did not think the play calling was bad. It may look bad, and what kept popping in my head, what's popping in my head now, what it reminds me of the Chicago Bears. Maybe a lot of you listening to this didn't really watch Chicago Bears last year, but the Bears last year, people got on their head coach and play caller, Matt Nagy, for his play calls. And me watching, I didn't really see anything wrong with it. His playbook was kind of cut in half because what they could do, they had to play a lot of small ball. They couldn't really do anything downfield. Offensive line wasn't playing good. Matt Nagy had a very tough task, a very hard job. His playbook couldn't be used to its fullest. He pretty much had to simplify the offense and kind of roll with it. That was almost the same exact thing as what happened here. Minshew couldn't get anything going downfield. Nothing was really working. It's still going what they were doing in the first 2 weeks. The only difference is teams are able to game plan for it now. The Dolphins were able to game plan for it. So you can't blame Gruden really too much. It's the only thing that was working. He had to cut his playbook in half pretty much, and it's really not his fault too much. So they could have got a little more creative there. They could have got more tempo going earlier. I was kind of wishing there was more tempo. So there is spots where I blame them, but it's a very tough place to be in to play call in that offense and the way Gardner Minshew was playing in that game. So that's why you can blame him here and there. There was some bad things, but there was some things. There really wasn't any good things, but there was some things where some moments where you can't really blame him. What is the coach supposed to do there? So it felt like the playbook had to be kind of cut in half, and it just reminded me. I'm not saying they're the same exact as the Bears from last year. I'm not going to say they're going to end up like that, better, worse, the same. I'm not really predicting anything here. I'm just saying that's what it reminded me of. A playbook kind of getting cut in half there. We only can use a section of this, and that just kind of goes into now all of a sudden somebody was able to game plan for our offense what we have been doing. So that's kind of the thing I worry about for the Jaguars is that our team's going to be, I think most teams will be able to. I think a pretty good matchup against the Bengals next week, but it's still going to be a tougher task than it was even against the Titans, the Colts. So that's something to look out for going forward for sure. How will teams game plan for this offense? It's almost a choke if they don't game plan. If some teams are still out there running cover 4, but whatever, the tape is kind of out now, and now we're seeing the Jaguar team that's kind of the team that we almost expected. And you can't really judge off the first 2 weeks. I know some people were saying, they're gonna be really good based off one win, and that is the reason why. It's not just the Jaguars. It's almost about 50% of the league kind of fools us the weeks 1 or 2 because teams just can't game plan for them. The tape will be out. The game plan will be out. And we'll see. The Jaguars definitely can win some games here. They definitely can play some good ball here and there going forward. I'm not fully predicting things, but this made a little more sense. And I'm a little mad at myself for not, I was eventually going to predict it to start happening because that's what happens. Teams catch on, but a little mad at myself for not seeing it come in this game. But the Dolphins were a team struggling as well, and that's kind of what makes it extra disappointing for the Jacksonville Jaguars here. But impressive momentum win for the Dolphins, dominating fashion, so that is great going forward here. Perhaps we'll see if they can catch fire. Not the best Thursday game, but we definitely learned a lot from this game, and I'm excited for Sunday football, though. I think they purposely put this game on this week, this Thursday, because you see the collection of games that you could see before the year started were going to be great Sunday games, and then the Sunday night, and then the Monday game as well. So a lot of great football coming this Sunday, at least I hope, but I think there will be. We got you covered throughout those games on Twitter. You're going to want to follow that. And then we'll have the recap on Monday, and then we'll start it all over again. We got our predictions, score predictions, power rankings. We got you covered. Please please subscribe. We much appreciate it. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for their support. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.